This conference will now be
Fine. So now the recording has been started. No, I mean, this internship is partly on online part and partly on the offline part. So it's not completely on the online. So until which part we can go with online, we'll go with that. And then after that, we'll arrange an offline session as well. Because the scenario was like due to heavy rains and all those things in Andhra Pradesh. So this internship got started in online, but it'll end in offline mode. Okay, let us just get quickly started up. To answer your question, basically we'll go with embedded C, which is typically a C language only. C language only we'll be using for the embedded system boards as well. Okay, so there is no specific language what we actually have. Like if students are interested in Python, maybe you can go for Python courses as well, which is useful in the future. But for these embedded systems, especially, you can go with embedded C language, or based on the system, you have to understand how exactly you have to access the IOs, based on which you can take some decision. Okay. Now is my voice is audible? There was this query that voice is too low. Is my voice audible? Okay, fine. Fine, thanks. Okay. So guys, let us just get started with introduction to embedded system, how exactly this embedded system will work, and what is embedded system is all about, what is embedded, why it is called as embedded system, all these things we'll discuss in detail. So getting started with system, let us get started with system rather than we'll get started with the embedded system discussion. Okay. So system, coming to system, it's a combination of multiple components or multiple instruments together, which forms a series of action items or series of functionalities to be performed. For example, if you're going with your regular systems, whatever you have, like your PCs, PC is also a system which actually has n number of sub components inside it or sub parts inside it, like you have RAM, ROM, computer processor, computer memory, input output peripherals. You have chips like memory chips, and similarly you have some buses also for communication. Similarly, you have Ethernet port for communicating through Ethernet or for internet services. Similarly, few PCs may also have some Wi-Fi support, which has a Wi-Fi chip inbuilt, or you have to add it as an add-on. Similarly, you can use some Bluetooth beacons to make sure your system works with the Bluetooth as well. So system, in a simple note, system is nothing but it's a combination of multiple parts to perform a specific task or to perform a specific activity. Coming to embedded, whatever you're seeing, embedded is nothing but, as a name itself says, embedding, in the sense you are actually fitting in into an existing system. Embedded system is nothing but it's a combination of it's simply called as computer system, or it's a processing system. It's a combination of memory, processor, input output peripherals, and you also have multiple chipsets which actually performs various different tasks. So in a simple note, embedded system is a embedded system is a computer system, what you can call it, with a combination of processor, memory, IO lines, peripheral devices. In the sense, it could be anything. It could be either Ethernet, it could be either USB, or you can also go ahead with this GPIOs also, general purpose input outputs also. Like you have analog inputs, digital IOs, etc. So this embedded system will actually fit into any sort of application based on the requirement. So how exactly we'll choose the embedded systems also will come across once we go with different sort of applications. Now coming to the modern day world, whatever equipment what we are using, all the things will comes under embedded system itself. Like mobile phone, what we'll be using from the morning, it comes under embedded system. Whatever laptops or PCs or TVs, whatever infotainment systems or like MP3 players, whatever you have, all these things will come under embedded systems. So on a single platform or on a single PCB, what you can say, PCB is printed circuit board. On a single platform, all the IOs are combined or all the elements are embedded in together to perform a specific task. A task could be anything. Okay, if you're going for an MP3 player, the task of MP3 player is it receives the audio signal, it has to play it up. Whatever the audio signal it is receiving via cable, via wireless media, whatever it could be, it has to play it via speaker. So that is its task. But inside that, you'll be having some chipsets, you'll be having some regulator circuitries, you'll have some transistors. All these things are fit into a single form factor, a small form factor. So nowadays the embedded system has become very compact. So you can see even the mobile phones or like even the laptops that you're getting or the TVs what you're getting the latest days, comparing from 1950s to 2020, almost the advancement is huge. You can see a very advanced equipment with the slim features and all those things, wireless charging features and all those things are coming up. So that is with the advancement of the embedded system and also on the contributions of chip also. Chip as well, in the sense you can also consider it as VLSI. So I can tell you something like basically this embedded systems, whatever you're actually using, so there is on the electronics part, there is no difference in different sort of streams. Okay, VLSI, whatever you deal with, in VLSI also you'll be actually using a language to communicate with the hardwares, FPGA hardwares. But whereas embedded, you will be actually using an embedded C language to communicate with the embedded hardware. So one end, it's the same. Whatever programming you're doing, so you're trying to make sure you're trying to educate your hardware to work to a specific task. That is what you'll do. So in embedded systems, we have multiple characterizations. So we have ready-made embedded boards, or you have applied specific integrated circuit-based embedded boards or FPGA-based embedded boards. FPGA also uses some part of embedded in the programming. See, coming to ready-made computer boards or ready-made embedded boards, what you have, it is for a specific application. It runs like whatever Bluetooth speakers or like whatever basic infotainment systems what we have, those will actually run for a specific purpose, or whatever home appliances we have will work for a specific purpose. So you can't change the programming of that. Okay, so it's just for buying a particular equipment, using it for a particular purpose, only using it for that particular purpose. There is no chance of uh, updating the firmware of that particular device. There is no chance of changing the programming of that particular device. So these things will come up once we start with controller discussion. What kind of controllers we have, then we'll clearly understand. So in the part of today's session, we'll cover up all those things as well. So simply remember, guys, embedded system, it's a combination of processor, memory, input output peripherals, and also the IO lines on a single board, on a single chip or a single board, etc. Okay, so whatever devices we are using in the modern day world, it comes under the embedded systems. Embedded systems. So where exactly this research has been started? So if you see in 1960s, close to 1960s, this microprocessor and microcontroller has come into existence. Therein with the research has been started how to improve the performance of the controllers or processors, etc. So now in the modern day world, we have processors and controllers with high resolution, high bandwidth, n number of IOs, and you can do any sort of task with a given particular controller. So it depends what kind of activity you're trying to do. So there are n number of advancements which have been done. Like you have starting from Intel 4004, which was a designed for the calculators inside the PC in 1960s. It started. The research was going on later. The day by day, the complexity got. Guys, I'm getting a disturbance. Please just make sure your voice is muted. If there are any queries, please I'll request you to please post it in the chat box. Okay. So in the medical field also, like nowadays you are observing the smartwatches. Smartwatches also, like it's an embedded device which actually uses a sensor to sense your heart rate and pulse, etc. And it gives you the information about your pulse rate and all those informations. uh, Embedded systems are used in almost all the fields whatever you have, like in telecommunications, consumer electronics, coming to medical equipment, and even the transport, etc. In various sectors, I'm telling you, the various sectors will be actually using this embedded system. So the importance of this embedded system is nowadays in the modern day world, it's a necessity for us to understand the importance of the embedded system, and also it's a it's a mandatory thing what we have to learn on the embedded parts. So if I mean, since we are studying in the core, so our major aim has to be like we should be very aggressive in the core knowledge. I mean, it should be a gunshot, like if you are trying to attend some interviews or whatever it could be. So if you have some expertise in the coding, so you can correlate. It's nothing like you should have a strict knowledge on this. You should have a basics of the coding and basic understanding on the core knowledge, which will actually make your resume stronger, and even you can also speak a lot in the interviews as well, coming to the interviews point of view as well. So now this user interfaces, I mean, after this advancement in the embedded systems, there are some tools as well which are actually used for developing, which are used for developing the source codes or developing the firmware onto the existing controller. See, in a simple terminology, I'll try to tell you. You have an application. Assume that you have an application. You have an auditorium. You want to make sure you want to display the auditorium attendance in the given time. So you have some controllers, you have some embedded controllers, and you have some sensors. Assume that you are doing a task, like you have put some IR sensors in the front of your auditorium entrance. So whenever the person is entering into the auditorium, it is started counting. So that count has to be displayed onto a LCD display or onto a LED display, whatever you have. So right now you have a embedded board. So you have to make sure you have to give the instructions to your embedded board stating that you have to acquire the data from the IR sensor. Based on the proximity, based on the sensing, you have to give an update onto the LED. So it has to count. So there should be some algorithm, it has to be written for counting the people who are entering into the auditorium, and also the same data has to be displayed on the LCD or LED. You have to port the data. So how many IOs you have to use, what kind of commands you have to enter onto your embedded board, all these things will come into existence. So let us get started with few basic controllers what we actually have, and then let us decide how exactly the requirements are taken and how you will be actually specifying the particular controller whatever you have. Assume that now I'll go with some Atmega controllers. Okay, so now most of you audience, as an audience, you know, most of the people know about Arduino, I guess. So guys, how like I know, I hope you know about Arduino. If yes, please state a yes in the chat box, because our starting learning curve will start from the Arduino itself, because Arduino is a pretty basic embedded board wherein which we can understand the basic performance of the embedded device. So I hope most of you know about the embedded boards, especially on the Arduino. Later we'll be discussing in detail how exactly this Arduino will work, etc. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay, no issue. So, okay, great. So there is a no in the chat box. So I'll show you what is Arduino and uh, what are the controllers we have in the modern day, how exactly application is finalized. See, let me just go ahead with few applications. Okay, just typing out few applications here. Application one, acquisition of temperature in 4 channels. Okay. Okay, next one is application operating multiple motors and acquiring data from 10 channels. So I'm talking about the embedded system. The heart, or like the brain of the embedded system, is nothing but your controller, embedded controller, whatever you have. So Atmega is one controller which is from the AVR microcontrollers. So if I go with Atmega 328, now it has been taken up by Microchip. Now it is being adopted by Microchip. So we have n number of controllers. Based on the requirement, we'll be actually configuring the controller whatever we want. Okay. So Atmega is one sort of controller, and then you have LPC 1768, LPC series based controllers, which is from NXP. See, if I go for microcontrollers, you can see different sort of microcontrollers together in the market. See, you have Altera analog devices based microcontroller, you have Atmel, Cypress semiconductors, and then you have Fujitsu, Hyperstone, Infineon, Intel, Lattice Semiconductor, Maxim Integrated, Microchip Technology. See, Microchip, whatever we are dealing with now. Okay. And then you have NXP Semiconductors, which actually deals with LPC based boards, actually LPC 1768, LPC 2368. And then you have ARM controllers also, a number of ARM controllers. See, XMOS, Xilinx, Ubicon, Toshiba, Texas Instruments, ST Microelectronics. So these are different sort of common microcontrollers which are used in the market for many sort of applications. And there is one controller which is called as PIC controller. So always remember, PIC controller is also very important. So PIC controller, these are from Microchip especially. So Microchip is very prominent in the market in terms of medical instruments. So Microchip based PIC controllers are used in the medical instrumentation and in the medical instrumentation majorly. Like whatever devices you have in the hospitals, basically those are also embedded systems which are embedded with these kind of chips. Microchip is a controller there, brain there. So whatever embedded system you're designing, the brain of your embedded system is nothing but your controller. So you have to decide what is the capability of the controller what you want. How much capable should be your controller to get the data accurately? That's what is our major task. As a person, as a, I mean, as an employee or as a whatever company you have, whatever electronics, core electronic company you have, the process is pretty simple. If you want to decide an application, you have to note down the specifications or like you have to note down the requirements. Based on the requirement, you have to come down to the controller, whatever you want to go ahead with. And then you can get started with the programming part. So first thing is you have to understand which particular controller or which particular processor or which particular OEM based controller will work for my purpose. That you have to decide. And then based on the availability, if there are multiple controllers are capable of that, go with the cost. Whichever is less cost, you can go with that. And you have to see the durability also. What is the durability of that particular thing? So that's how this controllers will be decided. So I'll give you the introduction to Arduino board as well today. Once before concluding this session, I'll be giving you introduction on the Arduino board as well. So these are different sort of microcontrollers what we actually have. Okay. So coming to the first task what we actually have is acquisition of temperature in 4 channels. So I have to acquire temperature in 4 different channels. So always remember whatever data you want to acquire, there is a specific process for that. And whatever data you want to reconstruct, there is a specific process for that. So before getting started with these applications, I would like to introduce a concept called as ADC and DAC. I hope you have ADC concept of ADC and DAC in one of the subject. So ADC stands for analog to digital converter, and DAC stands for digital to analog conversion. Okay, so let me just give you some brief insights of what ADC is all about, what DAC is all about. In a simple note, whatever microcontrollers you're using, microcontrollers strictly understand the language in terms of digital. Whatever systems you have, all the systems will understand the digital language only. Digital language in the sense either it could be 0 or 1 or machine code. So it doesn't understand anything like voltage, doesn't understand anything like currents, etc. The only thing it knows is zeros and ones. So our task is to, we have to give the data in convenient manner for that particular device to make sure the device is understanding and responding for the same. So for this, we have to understand the importance of ADC. Okay, ADC, analog to digital converter. As the name itself suggests, it will take the analog signal as an input, convert that into digital samples and feed it into a controller. That is what it does. Okay, in analog to digital conversions, we have n number of things which are going on. And similarly, exactly opposite operation is digital to analog converter. Okay, always remember guys, the thing is something like this. See, if this is your if this is your microcontroller, whatever you have, this will be your ADC. ADC would be within the microcontroller itself. We don't need to worry about it. And this could be DAC. Okay, this is ADC. And this could be DAC. Sorry guys, I'm very poor in this paint. So see, now I'll tell you in a simple note. This analog to digital converter will be a medium converter which will actually convert the analog data samples into digital data samples. And this digital data samples will be processed onto a microcontroller, and this microcontroller will actually understands whatever you're trying to say. After that, it will take some decision, which is in turn sent into DAC. DAC is nothing but it's a digital to analog converter. For example, assume that I'll tell you a simple process. My task is I want to control the fan speed with respect to the temperature in the room. Okay, if the room temperature is higher than a specific threshold, or if the room temperature is high, I want to make sure my fan has to run in high speed. Similarly, if the room temperature is low, I don't want to run the fan. I just want to turn off the fan. Okay, because it's already cold. Or otherwise, I have one more device which is called as heater. It has to start up. So this is the process. Assume that this is the process. So whatever AC you have, air conditioner, that is conditioning the air. Air conditioning is also an embedded system process. Here now what happens is, in my application, one temperature sensor will be taken. The temperature sensor data, whatever you have, that will be coming in analog data. So that analog data, it has to be processed and it has to be converted into digital samples. During this conversion, whatever analog raw data we are getting it, we will be actually converting that into a specific units if you want to see it. Otherwise, directly whatever data digital samples you're getting it, based on the digital samples, you can write some logic or you can write a code where your microcontroller has to respond. Now, for example, if your complete data, like complete data, temperature data you're getting in, based on the temperature data, your microcontroller got some information in terms of digital samples. Now it is again sending the digital samples to the motor, that is nothing but which is attached to fan. So if there is high temperature, motor has to turn on with high speed. If there is low temperature, the motor should not turn on. In spite of that, a heater should get turned on. So two things which are connected at the output end. See, this is one and this is the other one. And this is the temperature sensor. Okay, this is the temperature sensor. Okay, so this temperature sensor, it's nothing but a transducer. Whatever sensors you are using, sensors are also called as transducers. Transducers are nothing but it will convert one type of data into another type of data, one type of energy into another type of energy. Transducer is nothing but, in a simple example, what I can, temperature sensor will actually sense the temperature, convert that into a voltage. So it's a kind of a transducer. And like piezoelectric sensor, if you're taking, which is nothing but pressure based sensor, whenever you apply some pressure on that, it will actually give you some voltage in response. Similarly, if you are taking LDRs, light dependent resistors, so based on the light, the resistance will be added up onto the data and the data will be fed out. So now here in this example, temperature data will be in turn given to the ADC of the microcontroller. ADC of the microcontroller will convert that analog data into digital samples and forward it to the main microcontroller program counter wherever it has to run. After this, it has to go for Based on that, whatever decision has to be taken based on your code, it goes to that segment and then it triggers out the DAC. DAC will either trigger the fan or it will trigger the heater based on the requirement. Okay, so this could be a fan. Okay, and this could be a heater. Okay, so see, from ADC, the data you're getting in, the data is entering into MC microcontroller, and then microcontroller will in turn send some commands to the DAC. DAC will actually generate a analog output, where with the analog output, if you are able to operate the fan and heater, that is fine. The process will be getting completed. So this is how the application point of view will work. Okay, whatever process it could be, whatever thing it could be, basically it has to work in this particular manner. Okay, so ADCs and DACs are the major components in the data acquisition in the embedded systems. See, in the electronics, A to D conversion, ADC system that converts the analog signal, which is picked by a microphone or a camera, whatever it could be, into a digital signal. Okay, similarly, if you go for digital to analog conversion, digital to analog conversion is exactly opposite of ADC. So it will convert the digital samples back into analog samples, and then the analog samples will be fed into the external devices. So in this example, whatever you have seen, first from the temperature sensor, you will be taking some data, which is analog voltage. That voltage will be converted into that analog data is the raw analog data will be converted to digital samples. After completion of these digital samples, the processing information will go to the microcontroller, and microcontroller will take some decision and run the DAC devices. So DAC device will in turn take the digital samples as an input and provide the analog samples based on the digital samples, whatever it is getting as an input, and then it triggers out fan or heater based on the commands whatever you have given it, based on the instructions whatever you have given to the controller. So controller is a brain of your embedded system, which will actually control the process of the complete operations. Like if you are using multiple chipsets on a single controller, on a single board, the main microcontroller what you actually have will actually communicate with the multiple sub chips whatever you have on the board, and will take the information as a feedback, and then it'll feed out the information. That's how the process will run. So this is a basic process or a genuine process what we actually have in this particular environment. I hope this is clear. Until this part, it is clear, I guess. So let me just go ahead with the other topic as well. So this is analog to digital converter and digital to analog converter important. Okay, always remember these are the major things which will be playing around. Okay. After that, we'll be also discussing about few protocols also, like what is UART, I2C, and SPI, which are communication protocols. Okay, that is not required as of now. So we don't need to go much in detail of the analog to digital conversion and digital to analog conversion, etc. So now let us just get started with one sort of controller and see how exactly the specs of the controller will look like. Specs is nothing but specifications of the controller will look like. So let me just simply go ahead with this. See, if I have some application, see, under products, you can see we have n number of products. So you have amplifiers, you have embedded controllers. So embedded controllers also based on your requirement, whatever embedded controllers you have. And then if you want to go with some security based ICs, you have security based ICs, RF and microwave if you want to deal with those kind of sectors, storage based kind of thing if you want to deal with. We have n number of things, okay, as a product line. So now let me just quickly introduce what is Atmega 328P. Why exactly I'm telling this also, it's important. Whatever Arduino board will be getting started with the discussion, excuse me, that particular board will actually use this Atmega 328P as a platform, as a main brain of the particular board. Okay, so let us just get started with a basic discussion on this, how exactly it is working. See, this is high performance microchip 8-bit AVR RISC-based architecture. So we have different sort of architectures in the embedded systems, which are RISC and CISC. Maybe tomorrow, once time permits, we'll see about RISC and CISC as well. So as a brief note, CISC stands for complex instruction set in computer. RISC stands for reduced instruction set in computers. CISC was earlier used in processors and controllers, which are like 8085, 8086, 8051 microcontrollers, whatever you have, those used to use complex instruction set in computers. But whereas now in the modern day world, everything is evolved into a RISC architecture. So with that, there is advancements in the programming, there is advancements in the frame structure and all those things. See, this microcontroller combines 32 KB of ISP flash memory. Okay, 1024 bytes of EEPROM. EEPROM stands for electrically erasable programmable ROM. ROM stands for the storage. See, whatever controller you take, that will have some RAM, that will have some ROM. Okay, for storing the data bytes, or for storing some data types, or for storing the data whatever you're getting from the sensors, etc. Okay. See here, we have 23 general purpose IO lines. Always remember, in your embedded system, whatever you have, general purpose IOs are nothing but, it could be analog input, it could be digital input, it could be digital output, or it could be some protocol pins also. Those things will be called as general purpose IOs. So this, in this Atmega 328P, we have 23 general purpose IO lines. I'll broadly classify as well. What are the 23? Out of which, if you see under general purpose IO lines, we have USART programmability. I mean, you can go with UART programming. You have 6 channels of ADC, 6 channels of 10-bit AD converters. That means with this chip, especially with this particular microchip Atmega 328P controller, you can acquire the data from 6 channels. That means you have 6 analog inputs or 6 A to D conversions, what we actually have, where you can acquire the data samples. And we have programmable watchdog timer, and powerful instructions in a single clock cycle is possible, and it works with 1 MIPS per megahertz speed, what we actually have. Basically, the speed grade is decided in this particular fashion. Now, if you see, these are the parametrics. Majorly, the parametrics are very important for a controller. The max ADC resolution. So ADC resolution, there is a resolution which we'll be discussing now. ADC resolution is one of the major thing which will actually tell you whether you have to use this controller or not. ADC resolution is of 10-bit, and the size of this particular device, the size of the particular, I mean the number of IOs of the number of ADC IOs are also important. Now in this chip, it are 6. These are 6. Program memory size is 32 KB. So your program memory size should not exceed 32 KB when you're programming it. And then we have number of comparators is 1, and then we have a CPU speed of 20 MIPS. Basically, it's nominally good, this particular controller. And then we have data EEPROM of 1024 bytes, which is nothing but 1 KB. Okay, and then we have timer, 16-bit timer. We have 8-bit digital timers. Simultaneously, you have I2C interface. Program memory type, see, always remember, program memory type should be flash. I mean, if it is flash, you can actually change your application n number of times. That's quite possible. And then you have ADC channels of 8, low power, operating voltage up to 1.8 to 5.5, and then output comparator PWMs are 6 channels, and then we have pin count of 32, and then we have SPI 2 SPI supported pins. So there are some protocols. Okay, remember, there are protocols which we'll be discussing in the further day classes. UART is one protocol, SPI is one protocol, and then I2C is one protocol. See, so these are communication protocols to communicate from the sensors or to communicate from the external devices with the existing embedded architecture. So see, what happens is when you want to communicate between two different embedded systems, either you have to use any sort of protocol to communicate it. Either it could be simple UART, or it could be I2C, or it could be SPI. So even though if you're using some sensors which actually have this kind of communication protocol based pins, you have to go for this kind of methodology. So now, as a brief, you understood that this particular controller has 10-bit ADC resolution, and it has 6 A to D conversion pins. Okay, 6 A to D conversion pins. So, in a simple note, how to decide whether you have to go with this controller or not. See, we should take a requirement in such a way. See, now I have told you we have got a task called as acquisition of temperature in 4 channels. So simultaneously from 4 channels, I want to read the data. So 4 ADC should be available. 4 ADC, I mean ADC should be available. 4 channels must be read at the same time. So this is fine. Now you should also be clever enough to get the information like what is the voltage data you're getting it. See, if I take a controller, this controller, basic controller, and I want to measure some heartbeat signals or pulse signals which are of high resolution, it's not possible. It's not possible. Why? I'll tell you also. See, for example, if this particular basically temperature sensor will give you the output in terms of millivolts. Okay, millivolts. How you can actually decide what is the minimum voltage could be detected by your particular device? How can you decide that? So there is a simple formula which is available in the PDC subject or pulse and digital circuit subject or linear integrated circuit analysis subject. What we actually have in the curriculum is nothing but the full scale voltage divided by the formula for this is resolution is equal to full scale voltage divided by 2 power n minus 1. So this is a simple formula. So here we'll take the consideration of Arduino board. Basically the Arduino board can detect up to 5 volts. So 5 volt will be the full scale voltage, and then 2 power n minus 1. So as a part of resolution formula, it's nothing but 5 divided by 2 power 10 minus 1. 2 power 10 minus 1 in the sense 2 power 10 is 1024 by 1 is 1023. So if you perform computation on this, 5 divided by 1023, see, you are getting a data stating that 4.88 millivolts. See, this is nothing but the voltage. Okay, this is nothing but the voltage. So the minimum voltage what your controller, this particular 10-bit ADC can detect is 0.0048488 volts. That is nothing but 4.8875 millivolts. See, you are getting the minimum voltage what you can detect now is 4.8875 millivolts. So now your straight away question should be, so see the minimum data, the minimum voltage what you will be getting from this temperature sensor. Assume that the minimum temperature, what the minimum voltage data what you're getting will be 10 millivolts. So 10 millivolts is the minimum voltage what you'll be getting from temperature sensor. 4.8875 is the minimum voltage what your controller can detect. So straight away you can go with this controller. You can get started with this controller and you can understand. You can get the data. And see, if you think in other way around, as I've told you, analog to digital conversion, right? So analog data could be your voltage. See, for example, if you want 3.3 volts, you want to represent in terms of digital, you will be actually getting some sample value. Especially when you work with Arduino, you'll clearly understand how exactly the samples are coming up. 5 volts of voltage is 5 volts will be actually converted into 1023 parts. Okay, 5 volts will be divided into 1023 parts. Each part will occupy a voltage of 4.88 millivolts. Okay, 4.88 millivolts. So if you want to know, for example, if you want to know what exactly is the number of parts for 3.3 volts of output, so simply you can go for 3.3 into 4.88 millivolts. See guys, basically what happens is, if you are, I mean, I hope you understood about this ADC concept. See, 10-bit ADC in the sense, 10-bit ADC in the sense, the simple formula is full scale voltage what you're actually getting divided by 2 power n minus 1. That is nothing but your basic minimum voltage what you can actually detect from your particular device, whatever you're choosing, or from your particular controller, whatever you have decided for. So if you go for Atmega 328P controller, Atmega 328P controller has 10-bit ADC resolution, which can detect up to minimum 4.8875 millivolts. That's what it can detect. So that detection you can do it. Apart from that, if you have a requirement where you have to go for very minute sensor, for example, if you have a heartbeat sensors or pulse sensors you want to use it. So this pulse sensors, what happens is it generates a voltage in terms of microvolts. For microvolts, if you want to go ahead with this particular controller, your data will not be accurate. Your data will be partially accurate, or your data will be semi accurate. Okay, that's a reason deciding your controller or deciding your processor is an important task when you go ahead with the embedded programming. So guys, did you understood about the ADCs and DACs what we actually have, at least until the like purpose of the ADC and DAC in the process? If yes, please state a yes in the chat box. If not, see, first day session will be actually, it will not be interactive, but the later days I'll make sure that it will be interactive. Okay, we'll be actually working on maybe you can parallelly also do it. Anyway, we'll be sharing you the recording by end of the day, and you can actually parallelly get started with the development activities also. How you can do it. So there is one website which, without having the controller boards, all those things, we can get started with the programming. We can understand the basic sort of programming and how exactly it is responding. All these things we can discuss in far more detail. Okay. So now, for the first task, what we actually have thought of, assume that this temperature sensor is giving me the voltage up to 10 millivolts. The minimum voltage what temperature sensor is giving 10 millivolts. So I can use Atmega 328P controller for this task, because Atmega 328P has 6 ADC pins, out of which 4 I can use it for the 4 channels, and moreover the minimum voltage what I'm getting from the sensor is 10 millivolts, but the minimum detectable voltage for this particular controller is 4.88 millivolts. So automatically I can detect the minimum voltage what I'm getting from the sensor. And always remember, either your data will be in terms of parts or your data will be in terms of analog data. Okay. So if you simply go for, if you use for the Arduino board, and if you simply go for data acquisition, you want to acquire some samples from the sensor, simply you'll be actually getting the data in terms of parts. Those parts again has to be converted into, for example, see, see whatever calculations I've done, let me just show you that. For example, if you are getting 800 parts out of 1023 parts, always remember your complete 5-volt scale is divided into 1023 samples or 1023 parts. This 1023 parts will actually have some digital samples or digital binary data. That binary data will be fed into your controller, and the controller will understand the binary or machine language code, machine level language, and then it'll respond back to that. And based on the machine level code what we got, the DAC will act upon, and then we get started with the generations. That's how the process will run. Okay, see for example, if you're getting 800 parts as a result into 0 0.0 or okay 0.004888, see 3.904 would be your voltage. So that's how you can actually convert the parts into voltage or voltage into parts respectively. Okay, so once we get started with Arduino, we'll clearly understand how exactly this is working.
This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry guys, I hope my screen got hanged out. See guys, this is nothing but your Arduino Uno. Okay, Arduino Uno board. So whatever controller you have on this Arduino Uno board, it is nothing but Atmega 328P controller itself. Okay, so here on the top of this particular board, you can see it has 6 analog inputs: analog input 0, analog input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And then you have digital pins as well, digital IOs, starting from digital input 0 to 13. Together you have 14 pins, out of which you have some protocols also, which we'll be discussing in further more details once we get started with the programming. Like TX0, RX0 is this supports for your particular UART, and then you have I2C clock, I2C data. You have reset button, and you have power adapter, power jack, and then you have USB to flash your program, and there is IDE also. IDE is nothing but it's a development environment. So Arduino is IDE platform where you can actually program your particular Arduino, or you can flash the code onto the Arduino where your Arduino board will work for that particular purpose. Okay, that's how these things will work out. So whatever Atmega 328P pin, what we have discussed so far until now, this will actually comes under Arduino Uno only. So our discussion will be majorly started on the Arduino Uno. I hope somebody has unmuted their mic. Please mute your mics. See, so this is the major board what we'll be actually looking on to.
This conference will now be recorded.
So guys, this is the board what we'll be actually discussing in further more details. So based on your application, you have to decide whether this particular controller board will actually serve your purpose or not. That's how our original experimentation will get started up. So even our job is the same. Like whenever we get some requirements from the defense sector, we will be actually noting down the detailed requirements coming from the customer. Okay, and then we'll get started with the depiction. So here, if you see the first task what we have discussed, acquisition of temperature in 4 channels, the minimum voltage is 10 millivolts, so I can directly use my 8 mega 328p controller because there is no other task has been mentioned in this particular application. Only the thing is simply I have to acquire the temperature samples, that's it. So acquisition in the sense entering, I mean storing all the acquisition in the sense storing and it could be displaying or it could be storing also. Acquisition in the sense acquiring the samples of temperature from the temperature sensor in 4 different channels. That's what we are doing. And then the second application, operating multiple motors and acquiring data from 10 channels. See, here earlier it was 4 channels. Now if I want 10 channels, I have to go for the other controller. So we have one more controller which is nothing but Atmega. Sorry, Atmega 2560. This is a controller what we actually have. Atmega 2560. See, this particular controller what we have, it has 16 channels of ADC. Okay, 16 channels of ADC of 10-bit resolution only. Few advancements are there. Like you have 10-bit ADC and then you have program memory size of 256 KB. Earlier it was 32 KB. Now it is 256 KB. Number of comparators it's same. CPU speed is even less, 16 MIPS. Data EEPROM is almost like 4 KB. Earlier it was 1 KB. And here you don't have provision for Ethernet. You have provision for I2C just like we have for that. And we have ADC channels of 16. But whereas for the existing Atmega 328P, what we have for the earlier discussion, it was 8. So if you want to acquire the data samples from 10 sensors, 10 analog sensors, you have to go for more number of ADC channel based information. So you have low power operating voltage will be between 1.8 to 5.5 volts, this same, and then the pin count is higher. So this Atmega 2560 is an advanced controller when compared to the Atmega 328P pin, Atmega 328P controller. So this is how the basic controller, I mean the controller will look like. You can see the number of pins also. These pins will be mapped into a different directions where the pin headers will come out. I'll show you the Arduino 2560 as well so that you can understand how exactly it is looking like. See, this is Arduino 2560. You can see there is on the top of it, you can see Atmega 2560 is already written. So these are the pins. Analog inputs from A0 to A15, that is totally 16 channels it has. And number of digital IOs what you actually have is 54 channels. So 54 digital IOs you can use. Simultaneously, we have 4 UART communication pins, you have I2C communication pins, and then you have SPI communication pins are also available. So this is advanced board. In the Arduino itself, you have the basic board which is called as Arduino Uno, and the advanced board is called as Arduino Mega. Okay, so Arduino Uno basic board which is made up of Atmega 328P controller, which we'll be discussing once we get started with the applications. You can understand in further clear manner. Okay, whereas at Arduino Mega, it consists of Atmega 2560 controller, 2560 controller, which is far more advanced, and you have more number of IOs. So for this sort of application, the second sort of application, see here also assume that the data what you want to go ahead with is 10 millivolts only. Okay. Okay, 10 millivolts itself. Okay. So here what I can simply go ahead with, I can just simply go ahead with Atmega 2560. Okay, 2560 is a controller what you have. And the board what we have is at Arduino. So Arduino is a company, okay, Arduino Mega. Arduino has many sort of tools. I'll introduce what exactly is Arduino also, what kind of tools we have, what kind of cards we have from Arduino also, we'll discuss in detail. Data loggers we'll discuss maybe in the next day part. So tomorrow the agenda would be we'll be discussing on introduction to the Arduino part. So we'll discuss what kind of boards we have, what are the IOs we have on the Arduino board, advanced Arduino boards for the IoT what we have. We'll just discuss in detail, and we'll also get started with the concept how to program on the Arduino board, how to use a platform where you can actually simulate the Arduino board. Even though you don't have Arduino board with you, you can also simulate the applications and you can also check the outputs as well. There is a possibility for that. So we'll start the programming in that environment where it will be interactive to understand how exactly your controller is working based on your commands. Okay, and then we'll get started with the programming, and then after that we'll be doing some tasks day by day so that we'll have some advancements in the programming which will actually make you feel confident when you go ahead with any other embedded systems as well. Okay, so these are the things which I would like to share it with you on today's part. So as a brief overview I'll tell you. So we have discussed about the introduction to the embedded system. So embedded system, it's a combination of a processor, memory, peripherals, general purpose input outputs, peripherals, etc. And then you have we discussed about ADC and DAC, analog to digital conversions, digital to analog conversions, and we have discussed about various sort of controllers what we have, and we started discussion on the Atmega 328P controller and Atmega 2560 controller what we actually have. Okay. Apart from this, we have many more controllers which will be coming up in line pipeline. So our discussion starts with the Arduino. So I've started discussion on this particular controllers. So Arduino, tomorrow we'll discuss on the introduction to the Arduino boards, controller boards, what sort of boards have been developed in the Arduino, and what are the IOs we have. Okay, and then we'll get started with the Tinkercad also. There is a website which is called as Tinkercad, which will actually help us out to start simulating on the Arduino board. So it's a one unique website which actually helps us out in working in this kind of things. Okay. So with this, I'll conclude today's session. So I would like to thank each and every participant for patiently listening until this particular time. So if there are any queries, guys,
Thank,
I'm open for the queries. You can just post it in the chat box or you can go ahead. If there are any sort of queries, please post it in the chat box.
thank,
Guys, is my voice is audible? One person. Attendance. Just wait, guys. I'll confirm within a minute or so. I'll confirm. Okay.
Hmm.